Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back. I hope you all had good lunch. So we'll start with the session. This is about creating digital twins or just talking about digital twins. Okay, we rather would like to have an interactive session. I think more discussion is always better. So if you have any things, you can just stop me and then we can just discuss these things and then we can move forward. Uh, so I am Kiran Kumar here. Okay, so I work with Gistic. I've been working with Gistic for a very long time, since 2004. And I have Rani, who's joined me today.
Hello.
And we are basically going to talk about digital twins, what exactly they are. And we'll also try to show you some examples. Okay. So let's start. You take this in. I think you may have to
Yes, no problem.
take it forward. Sorry for the technical glitch. Not?
Yes, no.
The presentation doesn't want to go forward. I think it still wants you to rest for some time. So yeah, shall we start? So the topic digital twin. I mean, it's basically a very large subject, right? Okay. Digital twin. When everybody talks about digital twin, we had a session early in the morning where thank you.
It's working. It's working.
It's working.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
No.
So whenever we talk about digital twins, it's a massive subject, right? Okay. It's very difficult for everybody to pinpoint on exactly, okay, this is what is a digital twin. Yesterday in the same room, we had a friend from Modern. He basically spoke about how the ISO standards and stuff like that. We are working very closely with him, working on all these standards, whatever. I'm not sure if you guys have attended that, but there were a lot of standards and stuff like that, which he spoke about yesterday. And we are trying to incorporate all the stuff so that we can create, or we can come up with some real nice use case wherein we can speak about digital twin. But what we understand as a digital twin is nothing but whatever you have on the ground. I'm just creating a replica of that on your in my system, and then I'm working along that. Okay, so that is basically what digital twin for us is: connecting all these different systems, talking to different data sets, bringing in data sets from different system, connecting them. So this is basically what digital twin is, right? Or let's say, for example, if I want to create a digital twin for the environmental kind of thing, so I can do that. Or if you are interested in buildings kind of stuff, there will be a digital twin created for that, right? And so on and so forth. So specifically, what is digital twin is whatever you have on the ground, creating a replica of that on your system, and then working with that. This is what digital twin basically is all about. Sorry. And then ArcGIS is nothing but the foundation for the digital twin. Right? Okay, you have your ArcGIS system, and then you are creating a foundation for this digital twin. Digital twins, as we said, it could be many things, either silos or you can bring them all together. So we are creating different models. Okay, so if let's say if you are interested in environment exactly, so you can have an environmental digital twin. So this is you can create Alliance, which is the land information model. Okay, so the land information model basically gives you different information about the land. You have your DEMs, BTMs, rivers. You can bring in the environmental data like the weather data, atmosphere data. So all these data can be brought inside. That could be basically become your LIM, which is the land information model. If I go deeper into it, I can go to a building information model wherein I'm talking about a building. Inside the building, I can even talk about AI, which is the asset information model, right? Okay, I can basically have details about assets. I can create information about assets. Because we have ArcGIS as the foundation, you can have this information either in a 2D environment or in the 3D environment. So if your asset is somewhere on the, in the top, I can still have the location of that, and then I can create a solution out of it. Then comes this network information model wherein we are just talking about all these different networks. either it's utility network, road networks. Okay, so bringing in this data sets together, again, that again is a different model. And ultimately, we are talking about a city level, right? So we can have a city information model. Or rather, you have land information model. On top of that, you have a city information model. You have a network information model, and you have a BIM information model, which basically covers the entire perspective, right? Okay, so that could be again another solution, maybe for municipalities and stuff like that. They might need all of them. So you can bring in those information all together, and then you can have a solution along that. Okay, so that could be a digital twin. But as for the concept is concerned, you have your foundation, and then based on what exactly is required for you, you can go into either creating separate models or you can have one integrated solution based on. I think I keep on going backwards. So there are, what are the aspects of, yeah, so what are the aspects? What are the pillars? How do I call it digital twin? Okay, so the first thing is, we are talking about data. Where is your data? How is your data? How do you get this data? Do I integrate this data with different systems? I have so many other systems. There is a CRM system, there is Salesforce, there are so many other systems like property management system maybe. Where is the data lying there? Again, there are some other data sets which are from the GIS perspective. We are talking about the DEMs, the DTMs, the satellite imageries, your 3D buildings, all these stuff. So the first and foremost, what kind of data do you have? Where do you have this data? Do you have this data or you need to create this data? If you need to create the data, there are solutions available with ESRM wherein you can create some data stuff which can be again used for that. Okay, so data basically becomes your most important aspect. Okay, getting the data, modeling of the data is one of the major aspects of any digital twin. So once you have that, then how do I visualize that? Okay, I have my data. I'm getting this data from other systems. I need to visualize it. Some data is required to be visualized on a 2D environment. Some could be in a 3D environment. When I'm talking about data, let's say, for example, AutoCAD data, or I need to bring in BIM data, Revit data. So I am just trying to bring in this data set inside my model, okay, do an integration there. But how do I to visualize that? Okay, that also again becomes a very important aspect here, right? I can visualize 2D, 3D, real time. So if I'm also connecting with all different sensors, I can basically bring in the IoT sensors and then I can have a solution on top of it. Okay, so data, visualize them. Once I have the data, once I start visualizing it, then comes my analysis part. Right? I have this data, I need to do some analysis on top of it. I can just work on with the analysis of predictions. There comes in my AI models, prediction models, and stuff like that. I can just have all of them over here. And ultimately share this data either with internally, externally, depends on what exactly needs to be done. Okay. So in short, this is what basically a digital twin could be. Okay, it could be different for different sectors. It could be different for different people. Okay, some might need the entire thing. Some might need only a specific thing. Based on your requirement, you can create a specific digital twin accordingly. Okay, but more or less, this is what the concept over here is. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more on the data aspect of it. Okay, as I said, where do I have this data? Where is the data? So data is available with your organization itself, but there is some data which can be gotten from outside. For example, image feeds. Okay. Now let's say if you are bringing in image feed, that itself needs a processing. So ArcGIS comes up with huge amount of information or softwares where you can process this image feeds, and this basically becomes your base. So your real-time capturing, data integration, this basically is your base, and on top of that, you start creating your twins. For example, let's say environmental twin. That could be something specific for a specific department, or you can go to the planning twin, design and construction twins, or you can have your operational twin. Okay, so let's say, for example, once all the construction is over, I am getting into the operation part of it. I can have a specific operation team wherein I'm connected with sensors and the other stuff, bringing in them and then having digital twin. So, in short, this is basically what we have. Okay, so let's get into the reality capture a little bit more in detail. after we go through some, some more slides. So the first one is the environmental twin. Okay, so as we said earlier, you have a place, the DEMs and DKMs. I can bring in environmental data. I can have a specific solution for that. In fact, we are working on a project with DEMA wherein they have launched their own satellite. We are bringing the data set. We are doing a lot of analysis as soon as the data comes in, like red tide analysis or sea surface temperature, and the other stuff. So this is what was the requirement. So the digital twin, the requirement for that was the satellite data, the processing of satellite data. So that was included, and then there was a selection created. Okay, so that was from the more of an environmental. When it comes to planning twins or the planning kind of a scenario, so here, I mean, we can talk about so many real estate agencies. We are working on a project with Budon, so they want to bring in all the properties, put inside the system, and then create a twin out of it, working on the digital twin. So for them, again, the 3D is more important for them. Land is already there, so they don't worry about the environmental details and stuff like that. For them, it's more important is how the building is, what can I plan with the building. Now there are some specific modules for that. So let's say, for example, if I'm given a place, in that specific place, what kind of building can come in and what is that it can give me out of it, we can plan that. For example, there is a tool called as ArcGIS Urban. Okay, so when I just look at the ArcGIS Urban, so if I have a space, I can just draw a boundary, get in the building footprints over there, and then based on the governmental data, what I receive, it will tell me what is the best way the whole place can be used. So that basically becomes another digital twin for you. Based on that, let's say, for example, if I'm going to use it for the office space, how many jobs can be created? So that again becomes another input for that can become another output for you. Okay, so that is basically what digital twin or the planning twin can do. Design and construction stage, here specifically more to do with bringing in different data set. Like for example, I'm not sure if you have seen in the morning, Autodesk people, they spoke about GeoBIM. GeoBIM is nothing but an internal part of your digital twin. I am keeping the data inside the Autodesk environment. I'm having a GIS environment, connecting both of them together. That basically becomes my solution. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm having the concept from the GIS, content is coming from my BIM, and that's a solution which gets created. Okay, so that again another digital twin that could be put inside the bracket of your design and construction twin. Then obviously operations. Operations, now we can basically talk about hundreds of things over here. Here we are talking about floor level kind of details. We can talk about ArcGIS indoor. There is a solution wherein you can, how do I move internally from one place to another? So all these stuff can be, have a solution in and around that. So this is the software which I was talking about, ArcGIS Urban. Okay? So we have two solutions when it comes to creating a city kind of an environment. We have two solutions. One is more on the desktop environment. The other one is on the cloud. So you have something like a city engine. I get a space and I design a complete city. It basically gives me a lot of inputs. Based on the inputs, I can create a primitive design of a place or of an environment. The same thing I can do it with ArcGIS Urban. So these are the products which can be used. Okay. So let's have a quick demo on the ArcGIS Urban aspect of it. Okay. So if we just look here, I can see the entire city. I'm bringing the data, which is a LOD1 kind of a data. I have each and every building information. If you click on the right hand side, I can even drape my satellite imageries on top of it. I can bring in my drone imageries if I have. I can create a nice concept. For example, over here, if you see the stadium, the data which is very, very precise. So this is bought from a drone, okay, which gives me much more detailed information and I can get each and every aspect. Okay, so again, this is the visual part of it. Let's go to the analysis part of it. So ArcGIS Urban has 4 sets. Okay, one is it talks about projects. The other one is it is labels. So each and every point what you see over here is nothing but a label. It has information stored about that building. But if I have some other kind of data sets which I want to visualize, for example, your population, okay, or any other details, what I can do is I have something called as indicators. I can bring in the indicators, and based on that indicator, it will give me information about that land. For example, in this particular case, you are seeing the population. Okay, based on the area, if the area is big, you can see the bar is quite taller. And if it turns darker green, that means the population is heavier in that particular area. Okay, so just by looking at that, I am able to gauge what kind of information is available in that specific area. Okay, so again, that's one part. Let's say, for example, if there is a location and it already has some buildings and stuff like that over there, but I want to do a replanning of the whole place. Okay, there is a solution for that. So I go to the planning phase, I come to this particular place, I click on that place, show me the first design. Okay, then I can bring in some other data set from the government, which is basically talking about the envelope. Okay, how tall I can go, how far I can go, all this information is available. I can bring in that information over here, and based on this information, it is going to give me an idea of saying that this is the best possible scenarios you can have. This is the best possible, information you can have. So here I'm just bringing in my zoning data, which is from the government. Zoning data is nothing but it creates an envelope for me. And based on this, I just say that, for this place, I need one mosque, I need one school, I need this, I need this, I need this. These are some of the details I need. This is more for a residential purpose. Based on that, I can just specify those details. Once I specify those details, it is basically going to give me a primitive idea of saying that this is one of the scenarios which you can have. Different people can have different scenarios. You can compare those scenarios also among them. For example, if my boss gives me a plan, my colleague has another plan, both of them can design in their own way. I can bring both the designs together, look at it, whichever is good, I can take it from there and then then finalize that. Okay, so let's see, for example, what I can do over here. So if you look at that, I've selected 4 parcels. Okay, now this 4 parcels, this is the envelope, which is basically saying that this is what you can go. This is the best possible scenario you can have in this area. Okay, based on that, I say, okay, create something for me. Create the best possible use of a GFA, the best GFA possible. So this is the design which automatically is done. Okay, again, with that, it also gives me a lot of information, but I want to do some editing, merge these 2 parcels together. Do you want to merge them? Yes. Obviously, my plan is going to change. So automatically, you will look at the system, that plan has changed and has given me a different kind of a design altogether. Okay, so this is not the design level, but just not the design level, but this is also throwing a lot of information out of that. Okay, a lot of information dashboards gets created. Let's have a look at those dashboards also. Again, another very small example. Over here, there was a parcel which was, not correct. I have an option of correcting those parcels also. So you can just see the parcel getting corrected. Okay, so again, this is more of a designing tool. This is more of a planning tool. This is more of a planning twin. What we are basically talking about. Okay, so I've edited that, and then I can basically create an option out of it. Let's look at these polygons over here, or these parcels, which are more towards the edge of the water body, wherein I need some taller buildings. I need to create some offices and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to choose them. Again, taking into consideration the norms, the government norms, it will basically give me the design, the primitive design. So that is the idea which is being given here. And now based on that, I am basically going to say that, okay, show me the boundaries. So this is the this is the zoning boundary. Okay, maximum allowed. If I want to change some things, I can do that. It has also created floors. I can even keep on click on the floors, and I can change the property of that floor. Whether it could be a residential or any other things, I can do that also. But once I'm satisfied, once this design is okay for me, then it basically throws me, the information. So on the right hand side, you can see the capacitor indicator. It basically says that this is the kind of population this design can support. If it is for commercial purpose, these are the number of jobs it can be created because there are some standards available, right? Okay. So taking those standards into consideration, it basically throws me the whole information. So again, this is more from the designing perspective of it. Okay. So this basically gives me all this information and you can go and change that. It's not that it is, so this is created in some specific standards. You have an options of going inside, changing the properties, putting in your own properties over there, and then creating a map out of it. Okay, again, coming more from the planning perspective. Again, over here, I can do a lot of other stuffs like bringing in SketchUp maps, okay, interacting with this, or bringing in some Revit files, interacting with that Revit files, getting some information from the Revit files. All these stuff also can be done inside this. Okay.
Okay, no.
Yeah. Next. This is, so we spoke about the two scenarios. One was the ArcGIS Urban, which was more the cloud environment. Okay, from the cloud perspective, this is the City Engine, which is a desktop module wherein I can do the similar kind of things. I have these parcels. Okay, I can just draw lines. It creates roads for me. And I can have these different templates already available, different designs already available. I can say I need tree at every 50 meters. I need a lamppost over here. All this information can be put in and it can basically create a city or it can create that master plan for me, for example. Okay, so this is another example wherein we can just work along with. And you look at the designs over here. This is building design. By changing some of the parameters on the right hand side, the designs and everything basically changes. Let's say, for example, as I said, if I have a master plan, and in that master plan, in some areas I need to put gardens, in some areas I need to put villas, in some areas it has to be buildings. I choose this. This is my thought process. These are some of the models which I already have. I go to my scene over here and I say, in this particular place, I need villas. Boom, everything comes in. Taking that into consideration, it creates roads and stuff like that, and villas are placed. Here I need a garden. I can just pull in, drop it inside that, and the design gets created for you. Again, primitive design, primitive information. Again, it has also throws you the similar kind of information as we saw earlier. I can have this entire plan made here, take it into ArcGIS Urban. Again, in ArcGIS Urban, I can basically run different scenarios and I can create those indicators, whatever you saw. Okay, so that also can be done here. So this is the same scene. Again, brought it back into ArcGIS Urban, and then I have the similar kind of things created. And City Engine itself is a fantastic tool. Okay, I mean, if you look at City Engine, this was basically been used for creating a lot of movies also, wherein you need to do some demolitions of the buildings, create some new buildings, because this is not a designing, you are basically doing it using some programs. Okay, so it is nothing but it is a very quick way of creating different layers. Again, I take the same thing, I can take it to a gaming engine, for example, and I can create beautiful aspects over there. That also can be done. Okay. So this is basically what the planning tool or from the planning perspective of it. Anybody has any questions or any doubts before we go forward? Any discussion or something? Okay, let's move forward.
Sorry.
Sorry. So this was another solution which we created. So everything was done in City Engine. From the City Engine, that was taken into a gaming engine, and we did some solution for one of our clients. Okay, so this is just a screenshot of that. If time permits, I can show you the solution also later. Okay. So this is what we can do. So now again, let's come back to the data aspect of it. That's where this product kicks in, which is ArcGIS Reality. Okay, again, it's a completely new product from ArcGIS. Okay, which basically deals with creating your base data, creating your base maps and stuff like that. You can bring in your data stuff and then you can create a lot of other data sets like VMs, VPMs, mesh data, and so on. So what it basically does is, okay, you have different types of data sets, right? You can capture data from a satellite, you can go to aerial photographs, you can go to drones, or you can even have terrestrial 360 photographs which have been taken. I can bring that entire data set into something called as ArcGIS reality. That means it is working with the real-time data or the imagery data, and then I can create different solutions out of it. Okay. So let's have a couple of things out of it. Okay. So what is that I can do over here is, let's say for example, if I have that, I can create orthophotos, create DMs, that is the surface models, and point cloud data, that is a 3D mesh. I can create all the stuff. I think I had a clicker. Sorry.
Okay.
Just like take an example of this image. This is a satellite image. Yes. Okay. Here you can just see you are able to see all the sides of the building. So let's say, for example, if I have to create some information out of it, where do I create that? So, for example, if I need to digitize this building, if I digitize it over here, obviously that is going to be completely wrong. Again, I cannot see the entire bottom so that I can create a proper, base or proper the building footprint. But let's say, for example, if I create an ortho photo out of it, this basically gives me much more better information. Okay, wherein you are seeing it completely from another angle. Okay, that is completely straight. So it has taken some couple of photographs and it has extracted the exact photograph what is required for you, which basically gives me better options. Again, another ortho photo. So this is the difference between a traditional imagery and an ortho photo. You can just see the massive difference between these two. Also now, with oblique imageries and stuff like that in ArcGIS, we have a lot of solutions wherein I can remove this dark portions, I can remove clouds, I can remove some of the structures which are not required. For example, let's say if I don't need the vehicles and stuff like that, I can remove them. Use some AI tools wherein all these stuff can be removed and I can get a actual photograph of it. Okay, so these kind of solutions are also available right now. Work on the shadow part of it. Okay, I can extract maximum information from the shadow. Those options are available right now. Okay, so here you can just see this vehicles, moving object and stuff like that. Sun glazing, I can just remove them so that it basically gives me much more better output out of it. Okay, so this is another option which we have. This is all about twin, but what is the base of that? Creating the base, creating the data, creating all this stuff is again very, very important. This is what we are basically talking about over here. Okay. This is a 3D mesh and a point cloud data. Again, this 3D mesh is by default created. So once I have the data, let's say for example, if I fly a drone, get the data, whatever I receive from the drone, and this is the output, what you get out of it. So this is again a drone. So here, what is the difference right now is, let's say for example, if I have this 3D data created, but along with that, I have vector data. I can drape the vector data on the 3D mesh data, whatever I have. I can extract information, the vector information, GIS information from the data automatically now. Okay, initially this was not there. So initially what used to happen is the GIS layer used to be beneath that. It was very difficult for me to choose. Now the GIS layer gets draped on top of my 3D mesh. Okay, and when I click on that, it basically gives me information, the GIS information from that. So you are able to see the 3D building also, and then you are able to get the information along with that. Again, there are many other options where ESRI started working with something new, which is what is called as Oriental imageries. What is Oriental imagery is, let's say, for example, if you have these kind of a tower where I'm flying a drone, I'm getting the data, okay, and there is a relevance which has been created with that, and then I can use it for maintenance purpose and so on and so forth. For example, if you have these huge electric lines, fly a drone, get the whole data set, create a 3D map of it, but it also has all these data, the raw data included in that. When you click on that, it gives me the raw data and I can do some analysis on top of it. So again, that is available. Okay, this is managing of assets. So here I'm bringing in my 3D data. It could be a BIM data, or it could be any data which is created in city engine kind of stuff. So you have your 3D data, plus in some places I don't want to see the 3D data, I can see it flat and bringing my BIM data instead of it. Okay, so this again another solution. And then I can create this beautiful options. Sorry. Yeah, I can create this simulations. Okay, just fly around the city, get all the information. Okay, so this is again take the same data set into the gaming engine and then start creating this. This can be done in ArcGIS Pro right now. Okay, this can be done inside the ArcGIS Pro and you can publish. So what are the products? When we talk about reality mapping, okay, so there are several products, right? So some of the products, it all basically starts from looking at different aspect of it. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking at some smaller sites, or if I'm looking at a smaller areas, which is just a normal master plan. If I'm going for a city level or country level, obviously the data which is to be acquired, that is different. So for example, for some smaller site, I can go to something like a drone imageries. If I need to go for city kind of stuff, I can use something like a aerial photograph, or I can go to satellite imagery. Okay, based on that also, what software can we use that is also completely different. Let's say, for example, if I go for sites kind of a thing, I can go for drone to map, which is a desktop environment, or I can go to site scan, which is again a more online kind of a thing. So you are flying a drone, take the data, upload it to the server, to this particular space called a site scan, and from there it basically creates all the data and gives you back. Or I can go to something called as Reality Studio, which is the latest photogrammetry package from Esri. Okay, so this is known as ArcGIS Reality. A smaller version of that is also available in ArcGIS Pro. You can use that, or you can directly get into something called as a Reality Studio. Okay, so these are the options now which are available. Okay, let me just see if I can show you the reality one. Yeah, this is the drone.
Next.
This is the drone capturing and the options which I can use using the drone capturing. This is the ArcGIS Reality Studio, the first photogrammetry software which we were talking about. Okay. And this is how the softwares and everything are been arranged together. Okay, so let's quickly have a look at it. So now you have data coming from these sources. You are using something like Studios, Pros, Drone to Map or SiteScan for creating this data. Now that data is coming to your ArcGIS environment. Based on what kind of data you have, you can choose either you can take it for ArcGIS online, or you can choose your server, or you can choose the other things. Now there is new options coming in called as video servers, wherein you can actually have the live videos like CCTV cameras, and that can be bought inside ArcGIS. You can store that in your video server, and then it can be published from there, and then you can have your solution. So this is like the new concept of the reality mapping, or mapping of your information or your data. Okay, so this is how the products have been stacked right now with ArcGIS. So, yeah.
Is that?
Okay, so this is basically what is the data aspect of it, right? Now let's look into some examples of digital twins which have been created with some information. That means the base data is coming from ArcGIS Reality. I have brought in some data from the other systems, created a digital twin out of it, connected to other systems and getting some information from that, and then creating solutions based on that. So for example, there are several solutions. We have done something for water. Okay, so all the people who are basically trying to do or trying to work with the water solutions. Okay, so there is a complete digital twin available for that. In fact, recently we were working with EWE, so that is the Etihad Water and Water. So they have the distribution plant, they have the place where the water is being collected, Okay, so the entire pipeline was given to us. We created a 3D environment out of it. There were some details which are under the ground, over the ground, and then we created a kind of digital twin for them. Okay, which basically, if I click on any one of the pipelines, it will basically give me the entire details of that. When it was laid, what was the year of commission it was happening, and what might be, when it can go down. So those kind of information. On the right hand side, if you see, there is a water treatment plant. A 360-degree photograph has been taken. That again gets integrated along with the solution, and you can see them also. On the right hand side, if you see, this is the facility. Okay, and you can see the facilities. These are all the pipeline data. Okay, so you can create some solution, something similar to that. Let's have an example. Let's see an example for that. So here you can just see my GIS data. On top of that sits my BIM data, which is the BIM information. Now, each and every building has different layers. It has a lot of information. So I can just go and I can see a floor level information. So when I see floor level information, it is pulling me a lot of other information like pipelines and stuff like that. So these are all BM features. On the left hand, if you can see, they have been categorized in a specific category. I can go to any category like a structural category. I can just see the information on that. I can go to other categories and I can see related information on specific thing. Each and every asset, what you see on the 3D environment is attached with some kind of a data which is stored in other systems. Okay. In this particular case, okay, we have used Power BI. Okay, so you can see on the top, you can see a dashboard, which is also basically been bought by Power BI. Lot of data, lot of information, what you are seeing is been fetched from Power BI. So there is a link which has been created. So whenever I click on the asset, information is grabbed from there. You can look at the information and then you can just take some decisions based on that. So here you can see different options, like there is a dashboard which was created. Now this dashboard shows you the entire environment in GIS, your BIM environment, which is your 3D buildings. And on the last option, you can see the 360 information. And then you can create a dashboard based on that. Again, the same thing. So this is the 360 environment which has been created. Again, now very simple dashboard with all the information, whatever is required. So here in this particular solution, the information is collected from 5 different systems. Okay, the information is coming from 5 different systems apart from the Power BI. And I can even have the Power BI information available inside the GIS application also. This is all coming from the Power BI. So this is a Power BI dashboard. Thank you. And then I can assemble all of them together and create one entire solution out of it. Okay, this is one example. So let's go to the next one. This is basically more from the electric network. Again, the requirement for them is completely different, right? So what is that we can create? So let's say, for example, if I'm flying the drones, I can bring in the drone data, create a 3D environment out of it. Let's say in some cases, I will just see a point cloud data. I don't even have to create some 3D data. I can just see a point cloud data. And then from that point cloud data, I can just click on that and I can get some information on it. Okay, again, another solution based on this. So here, again, for maintenance purpose, here's what you're able to see is this is completely a point cloud data because it is much more easier for me to bring that into ArcGIS environment. But whenever I click on something, it basically pulls in the actual photograph so that I can see it in more detail. And you can have these on a regular basis so that it helps you in maintenance and stuff like that. Again, based on that, create dashboards, create some scenarios, create a 3D environment, and then you can have connecting with different systems. I just wanted to show you this example. In fact, this was supposed to come earlier. I don't know what happened. Can you click on this? So this is the live example of capturing a drone, okay, doing the processing of drones and bringing that into ArcGIS environment. And here you are able to see this entire buildings. So this is the ortho photo we were talking about. So you can just see all these photographs. You won't be seeing any sides of these photographs. Similarly, there is a 3D mesh. If I overlay a 3D mesh to it, so you will see the whole data set in the 3D environment. See, I can see the 3D of the whole data sets. Not only that, but let's say, for example, as I said, if I have GIS data also, I can just drape my GIS data to it. And then I can just have, let's say, for example, the building layer. So I have a building layer draped on top of it. And then if I click on that, see here, you are able to see that that has exactly grabbed that entire building, and I'm seeing the details from the GIS, the GIS vector layer. So vector layer basically getting draped on my 3D data set, and I'm getting the information. And there are many other things which can be done to it, like visibility analysis, okay, measuring, all these stuff can be done. Okay, all these different kind of solutions can be created. The point what I'm trying to mention over here is I'm trying to create this data. So I just have satellite imageries or drone imageries. With that, putting inside the system, this is the solution which can be created, and take it to Experience Builder, and it will create this application automatically, and then that can be served to your users. Okay, with minimum efforts. By default, these are all available for you. Okay, just by flying a drone and getting the data inside the drone. So this was some of the things which I wanted to discuss, or which I wanted to show you. If you have any queries or stuff like that on top of it, I think I'll be more than happy to answer them. There are a few other examples which I wanted to show you, but I think we have 5 minutes. If it is okay, if you don't have any questions, I can just go and show you those examples. Example of bringing in your 3D data, that is BIM data, into ArcGIS. Okay, and if you just see, I just brought in a BIM layer, and all the layers in the BIM has been structured properly. I can switch on and switch off those BIM layers, the layers which I have, and then I can slice it. I can look at different aspect of it. Let's say, for example, once I slice the whole building, but I need to see the staircase for the entire building. Okay, for example, so I can just click on that and then say that don't slice that particular element. The others you can slice. So just I say don't slice this, and you can see the entire staircase as it is, but the other layers are basically been sliced. So you can have similar things. This is the BIM data for. Okay. Now this BIM data can be bought inside ArcGIS, and you can do this. Let's see the example of GeoBIM. Okay, again, very important solution. So here, if you just see, this is GeoBIM. How does this look like this? Now this is my GIS environment. Okay, I have brought in some BIM layers into it, BIM data into it. I did not bring the actual BIM, I just brought the outer structure of the BIM into my GIS environment, and then I'm still having some information about that. So this is a building number 1, building number 2. But as soon as I click on this building, it says that related to this building, I have a BIM data in my ACC environment. And then here it will show me all those BIM data available for me. Either it is DWGs, Revit files, and so on. Click on that. It basically opens up your AutoCAD cloud environment. And in that environment, you are seeing the actual BIM data. Okay, you can see them layer wise. You can see documents. You can bring in documents and so on. Why do I do this? Because bringing in this amount of data inside your GIS is going to clog it. It is not going to be smooth. So you keep BIM data in its own environment, and then you can just bring the other things inside GIS. For example, over here, uh, let us go to this particular building. Here you can see there is a pipeline, okay, which I have not bought inside GIS. So whenever I click on the building over here, on the top of the building, So there is a structure. So when I click on the structure, it says that related to the structure only, there is an entire pipeline which is available for me. So when I click on that, opens up that environment, which is the AutoCAD cloud environment of yours, and then you can see the whole pipeline structure inside the AutoCAD environment. And you can have the relation between these two. Again, this is your geobill. So keeping it in its own environment, but linking them together, okay, so that you can have your solutions to it. Talking about integration, this was another example which we tried in where we have integrated with different systems. Here we are integrated with power. Okay, so whenever I click on each and every building, it tells me how much power it is consuming, how much energy it is consuming. If I just click on a specific building, it says that these are the buildings which are consuming more energy. But again, if I click on the building, it goes floor level and it says, shows me which are the floor which are consuming more energy. So based on that, I can take some action. Okay, so if there are any sensors and stuff like that, I can click on those sensors. I can get some details from that sensors also. This was another example or another project which we worked on a couple of years back. The next example, again, another very interesting one. This is known as a city flow. Okay, so what is city flow? It basically shows you the entire area of UAE or Dubai, each and every parcel, how much population it has. Based on that, it is giving me, okay, the colors. Okay, but if I click on that, based on the number of buildings, it will just show me how many buildings were there or buildings are there. So it is buildings are just, the tall bars which are there. And then if you look at here, the yellow ones are the commercial ones, the blue ones are the residential ones, and so on. Just by looking at it, also you get a perspective of what is exactly happening in that. But the best part about all these aspects was the other thing, which is okay, which is how do I flow? Sorry, it jumped.
Just one.
Yeah, this is
Just
not playing. Okay, I mean, over here, I can just show you later on. It basically shows me the flow of how people are moving from one location to other. So that kind of a solution was created. This is underground network. So if you have underground networks, again, you can have a 3D model created for that. That can be again using your digital twin. Again, if you have some goggles and stuff like that, which is the VR solution, okay, you can just wear them, go to the site, just wear it, and then click on that, and then you can get information. So this kind of a solutions also can be created. Okay. So these are all different examples of digital twins which have been created. Okay, based on your requirement, based on your information. Okay, those information can be bought inside a single screen, and then solutions can be created on top of it. So that is what we had for today. If you have any questions or anything, we'll be more than happy. A lot of these are already shown in our gallery there. If you want more details, you can just come down to us and we can have more discussions on this. Okay. Thank you. Thanks a lot.